Okay, I'm here with an audience of one, and I'm perfectly happy with that. So this is about when I was a kid, and you were talking about Christmas stuff, so I'm like, oh yeah, I can add to that. Christmas is coming up, and I've got my favorite toys. It's orange racetrack with a Hot Wheels and Matchbox.
Can you close the door?
Yeah, you can close the door. We forgive you.
Place. I'm like, dogs aren't dirty. Toddlers are filthy.
So is that vacuum cleaner gas powered?
No, it's got an electric cord.
Yeah.
Alright, I think we're okay now. It looks like we're done vacuuming.
That was Soulshine, by the way. That's her superhero name, and I just realized that I forgot to ask you for your superhero name.
Oh, my superhero name?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So think about that while I tell my kid story.
Okay. And you said, it was an example of Starshine was my superhero?
Hers was Soulshine.
Soulshine. Okay.
She thought her ability was to remove stains from anything. I said, how about a soul? And so it's Soulshine.
Okay.
I recorded that whole vacuuming because this is how a hero does it. It just goes with the flow. So it's Christmas is coming up. I have this racetrack, and I was living in Burbank. Oh, that's my cell phone, don't worry about it. I was living in Burbank, so we're around a lot of theme parks with roller coasters. And they just made one with a loop-de-loop. I'm like, I need to get one of those for my racetrack. I want to push my car up that thing and see if it really works. So I'd gotten a little banking turn for my racetrack, and I got a little plastic gorge that you could plug the racetrack into. You can jump over like other cars and crap. But I really wanted this loop-to-loop. So I'm like, well, Christmas is coming up. I really want that loop-to-loop. I'm pretty sure I've been a good kid all year.
Two signs out front.
Didn't get one. So I'm like, well, there's always next year. So for a fucking year, the little kid that was me saying, oh, I really want that loop-de-loop. And eventually I saw a commercial with a loop-de-loop for the orange racetrack for the Matchbox and Hot Wheel cars. And I'm like, there it is, It's on TV. So Christmas comes along, and I'm like, okay, let's do this slowly. I open one gift at a time. It's like, no, that's not it. I'm like, oh, that's close. I don't care about that. Open them all up, and I'm like, and someone must have asked me why I did that. I'm like, I didn't get my loop-de-loop. And so I had to explain to them what the hell I was talking about. I'm like, I didn't get it last year, and I didn't get it this year. I really wanted a loop-de-loop. Oh well. So a couple days later, I don't know if it was an uncle, a relative, neighbor, walks up and hands me this orange, weirdly shaped thing. I'm like, that's a loop-de-loop. I just grabbed it. I'm like, this is better than Christmas. I ran to my room, pulled out all my cars and racetracks and these little purple tongues to connect the tracks to. And so I grabbed a strip and I just jammed it into that loop-to-loop and went, that's not a loop, because the track was just too short. It just went up and straight across. I'm like, okay, I can fix this. So I got one of those purple tongues and another orange track and put 2 of them. I'm like, okay, this is a frickin' loop. So I put a bunch of track to it, and I know how to push a car with my finger. You don't flick it because you'll hurt your finger. You put it in flick position, then you set it up to the car, and then you push it like that. You can get it to go over a gorge and up a banking turn. I knew that. So I just started with that. Okay, that was a little disappointing. So I know how to do this. I get a bunch of racetrack, set it up on the couch. So I set it up on the seat of the couch and let go and go. Okay, longer track. Put it up on the backing of the couch. It was up against the wall. I think there was a window and a curtain there or something. And it went down into the seat and then it hit the seat and went down to the loop. I'm like, okay, I know better than this. That's just a launching pad. It's going to launch off the thing. So the couch was next to the fireplace. There's a bunch of newspapers and kindling crap. So I stacked up a bunch of magazines and newspapers, pile it up on the seat so it'd be like a more straight path. So I put it up against the wall and watched it go, and it just went. I'm like, okay, this has to work. It's my loop-de-loop that I've been waiting over a year for. So I took all my shit back to my room. all my toys were in a captain's bed. You know what that is? It's kind of a high-rise bed with a bunch of storage space underneath it.
Okay, gotcha, yeah.
So it's really high up. Yeah, I had to jump up to it just to get onto it, and same with my brother. He was younger, 1.5 years, like you. So I got all my track together. I didn't have any track after the loop. It was all in front of it, plus the 2 that were on there. I got my best car, the one that I knew that my brother hadn't put all his weight on and bent the axles, the one I didn't use out in the dirt, you know, that was clean. And I knew when I flicked it, it went the farthest. So that was my car, in black and white checkers stripes on the sides of it. It's a racing car. So I set up the loop, I got all the track, I climb up on my bed, I'm kind of looking at it, I'm like, okay, this loop isn't stable, so I needed to set all this up. So I set the car on my pillow, climb back down, you know, set it up to where it was stable, and I realized, you know, if it actually makes it through this loop, there's a wall about a foot away after the loop ends. So what I did is I put the little bank and the gorge, I put that up against the wall. So if it hit that, it wouldn't hit the wall straight on, it would hit it at an angle, wouldn't wreck my good car. So I climbed back up, really careful, holding a track, pick up my car, and just stretched. Oops. Fuck. Ooh, it is still recording. So now the camera's not going to be able to see this very well. I just stretched as hard as I could on my tiptoes on a bed that's high up off the ground. And I put the car way up there, I let go. That's how that story ends.
Oh my goodness.
I let go. So, I let go. Is that a wonderful story or not? Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a matter of not giving up and
Wow, you were really in deep thought
if-
about this.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out the right way, the right words to put to it.
Please.
Not giving up and just you let the story kind of continue into, or not continue, just kind of go into oblivion, because that's kind of what it's all about, is just you just got to keep going for it. And the goal may not necessarily be the end
important
point
part.
of it, the journey is. Because ultimately, even if you get that loop-de-loop and it goes somewhere and it works, it's just like, okay, what's the next project? That doesn't end anywhere. That just is, I got the loop-de-loop to work. Yeah. Well, you let go of the loop-de-loop goal, or?
I let go of the car, but
Yeah.
the words are, I let go.
Mm-hmm.
It just, when I first
Well,
wrote
that's what that means to me, saying I just let go.
yeah.
And it just kind of doesn't really matter if it worked or not.
When I first wrote that, I'm like, what do I say after that? And I go, nothing. Because that's the way that story needs to end. I'm just so happy and proud about that story. It's my good story from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my only one, I hope. But I told that to the Sunday Assembly crowd several months ago. And I've told that to my other friends. And they're like, you need to share that story. I'm like, okay, good, because that's where I was going with this. I think it's a good one to tell. Because I am full of horrible, disgusting, painful, sad stories. I'm sick and fucking tired of them. You know? The speaker today, I hope you get a chance to watch the recording. He spoke about growing up and finding out that he's gay and how everybody treats him, all sorts of stuff. Now I forgot what I was going to add to that. Shit. He was really good. I told him about the camera interview stuff, and he seemed interested in it, and I hope I get him on. But I talked about, how a hero does it, and it sounds very similar to some of the projects that he's done about getting the verbal history down, about the history of gays. If you've seen Harvey Milk, you don't know it all,
Right.
but it's good that you've seen that.
Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah.
The Sean Penn movie. Anyway.
Yeah.
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 I think I also have a documentary about it that I have on DVD, but I haven't watched it yet. But that's clearly just one episode of the
And
Twinkie defense. Okay, anyway.
I've seen a few of them. There was one about Stonewall. Are you familiar with that story?
Is that the one about the bar that that got somebody set on fire and a bunch of people died in a really horrible way?
The story that I pulled away from that was that it was a group of people that felt alienated, but they got together and weren't alienated.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story I tried to pull, not
Right.
that they were burned out.
Right.
Those kinds of stories are just way better than, burning it down, or the word faggot meaning a useless object that's only good for burning. Just really sad and disgusting. But I'm going on, and that's what I do with my camera.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I go on too long. Have you thought about a hero name?
I want to put some really good thought into that.
Good. Then I can amend your question game
Yeah.
at a later date.
Because I have a hero name picked for a character that I created a long time ago that I've kind of used sometime, but I want one for myself that relates to the hero trait that I spoke to you about. Getting things done. I'll figure something in. So that relates to being able to be someone who just makes a decision and does it.
Yeah, the one I gave to David Diskin, because he's always explaining to everyone where the emergency exits are.
Mm-hmm.
So the superpower I granted him was emergency exit sense.
Okay.
And I discombobulated that because I'm typing this in my journal. I'm like, how about the emerging existence? I think that sounded cool.
Oh, okay.
So I shared that again with him earlier, doing ha-D. how a hero does it spells out ha, die, which is not a heroic thing to say. But being a hero, you have to realize that sometimes you're going to be a villain, whether you intend to or not. And you just got to forgive yourself for that. You know?
It's true. Forgiving yourself is a really important power to have. I often think that when people will ask God for forgiveness, they're just asking themselves for forgiveness. And if people could just realize that that's what they're doing, it's just you're looking to give yourself forgiveness, and that would maybe take one more reason that they needed God in their lives out.
Yeah. Another thing about the good story, bad story thing is along the lines of forgiving yourself in that, damn it, there was that thought again. Telling good stories from bad. Do I want to be my own friend? Would I want to sit here and listen to someone talk about their brain surgery endlessly? No. But that's what goes through my fucking head all the time. So think about something else. You know, what am I going to do is one of the thoughts that comes up. It almost has its own personality. What am I going to do? It's like, well, stop thinking about the negative shit that's making you cry. That was another thing. He cried, and I explained. Blepharitis is a word I looked up. For people with allergies, they get this blepharitis infection in their tear ducts. When they cry, the oil comes out, and it's really nasty. But it feels so good once the pressure is gone. So it's like I'm sitting here thinking about horrible thoughts, crying about it, and then wanting to tell a joke because all the pressure's gone, and I feel like, hey, let's laugh about something. So it was good to share that with him on my part. I hope he took something away from it. But his solution was to grab a cup of coffee. That'll help him get through the tears. And at the Death Cafe meetings that I've been to, they mention crying, and I say, yeah, plus it helps get the blepharitis out. It's a joke, but it's not a dour perspective of crying, which is what, macho men are supposed to view it as. Okay, so some of the thoughts came back. I've got this multiple jar theory that I've shared with Endo Girls. We all have our bottles of anger, and we gotta let off steam every now and then. The story, which I might have shared before, I was in a group therapy session. We exchanged numbers for support. So one calls me up in just a dire panic. I'm like, okay, calm down, what's going on? She's like, I just got back from a date, a blind date. I'm like, oh, geez, please tell me nothing bad happened. She's like, no, that's not it at all. I'm like, well, why are you so stressed? She's like, it went perfectly, and I don't know how to feel good. I said, well, they tell us we bottle our anger. Why don't you jar your joy? That's not how I said it at the time. But I've been calling it a joy jar. Bottle your joy. Don't take it in all at once. Save it for later. Treat it like a birthday cake. You don't have to eat it all on your birthday. Of course, you have friends to share it with, and you won't have any more after your birthday. But you get the idea. The third jar is the wispy jar. That's where shit I just forget goes there. It's like, damn it, that was a good idea. I wanted to remember that's in the wispy jar. There are other things in the wispy jar that I want to stay in the wispy jar. They pop out every now and then. So do some of the good stories that went wispy. So I had recovered one good story, and I don't know if I'll recognize what I was thinking about just by looking at my video. That's not going to happen. I can't read my mind. I can control my mind, but I can't read it. And I've called these stoner rants, pain-free poetry, medicated musings. I seem to only get this prolific when the pain's gone. And I don't know if it's because I'm stoned or brain damaged or sleep deprived or suffering from chronic pain, and it really doesn't fucking matter. It's me. Which direction am I going to go in? You have similar stories, just like his. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because I should be wrapping up any minute now.
All right.
So thank you for the interview, and we'll think about your hero name.
Yes.
All right? And Alan, we'll get you on tape one of these days.
So, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm camera shy. But I was on camera for a little bit today.
We can put the camera on me, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.